Hey everybody, and welcome back to our series on what we would change at our favorite DVC resorts. Got a familiar face. If anybody has ever dealt with DVC in any way, shape, or form, they know Derek. Hi, Derek.
Yeah, sorry. They all tuned in and went, "Oh my God, it's that guy again."
No, they didn't. We love it, and we appreciate having you. Derek is, what's your title at World of DVC? Like Grand Poobah,
Oh,
Grand Wizard of all? I can't remember.
yeah. That's part of it. Yeah, it's no, senior sales agent slash East Coast ambassador for the world of DVC. Which the senior part I was told has nothing to do with the fact that I turned 50. It's just in fact of. At
Very
least
good.
that's what they told me. So I'm not quite sure if I believe him yet, but
I love it.
maybe.
Well, thanks for joining us, and with us also is Amy. Hi, Amy.
Hi, everyone.
So this week we brought Derek in because he is the expert at this resort. He doesn't own there, but we have trouble finding people that own there because dues. So we are this week talking about Vero Beach. And Derek is a super fan. I've only been there once, so I have some ideas about what I would change, but I think Derek's going to have a wealth of input. Amy, how many times have you been to Vero?
I've been to Vero twice.
Okay, cool.
I think I just went there twice last week.
That's why you're here, because you got all the info.
I brought props.
Ooh,
Oh,
fancy.
Prepared.
My coworker slash friend Marissa, she bought me a coffee mug from her last visit there. So I've just put on some suntan oil, and I'm gonna just pretend like I'm at Vero. I wish this was not Coke. I wish I was on the beach with my big old giant cup that I love to, because that's one of the best things about Vero, is just sitting on the beach with a cooler and just watching the waves and making fun of people when they try to go in the water when it's super cold out. But yes, I'm very, very excited to be here. So when you guys asked me, truly, I was excited. I love the show. Like I told you guys, I love the show because I love being able to see everybody's personalities, like for real, like people that are in, the DVC Clubhouse group, and to being able to, you almost know their, personalities, and their wit and their funny posts and what they love and don't love, but you don't really get to see the person. So being able to put faces with names is just what makes the Clubhouse group so awesome. So I'm honored and very, very happy to be a part of it with my two friends right there.
We appreciate you being here for sure. And guys, since he's here with World of DVC, if you guys have any questions or want to buy, sell, all those things, like, contact Derek. He is the man. I've bought, I don't know, 702 contracts for you and sold at least that many back. I don't know. I've lost track.
You are going to be a senior sales agent in no time. 2 more contracts.
Hashtag goal.
And you got it.
Well, let's just jump in. Like, Derek, you know Vero better than I think anybody that I've ever met, for sure. Tell us why you love it first, like a brief rundown of why you like Vero.
Yeah. So I love telling folks about Vero, and it kind of goes back to when I first became a Disney Vacation Club guide in, like, I think it was like the mid 2000s or something like that.
When
I
you were a
remember, of course, you
junior, not a
learn about
senior.
it. I know, right?
Sorry.
and I and I always remember, because I've been a member since like the late 90s, I think, and I always remember, seeing Vero as like one of the places you could go. But at that point, we lived in Chicago, so every time we came to Disney using our membership, it was like, we're just going to Disney World. We're just going to Disney World. When I was blessed enough to become a vacation club guide, I was like, I better start to, know these other resorts, because people are going to ask me about Vero, and I want to be able to kind of tell them. So I remember during my guide training, and I remember my wife and I and my son, which is how I know I'm old, at the time was like 1 or 2. Now he's like 18. We took 2 nights and left Orlando, because the guide training at that time took like literally 2 months. Like, they flew you down to Florida, you stayed off Disney property, but like for 2 months. And I said, listen, let's just take 2 nights and let's go check this place, Vero Beach, out. So we went, and honest to God, just instantly fell in love with it. Like, just everything about it was great. And our son was super little at the time, which I know we can kind of talk about the different things to do because the resort can kind of change with you as your life changes and kind of as your family changes. Because when you're at that little age, where the kids are little, that pirate slide that they have there, and if you could magically, I'll even send you a picture, throw it up there so people can know what I'm talking about. The Tiger Lily Pirate Slide play area for kids. It's the greatest thing in the world when they're of that little age because it's safe and it's cool. And as parents, you could just, pull up a chair outside of it and they're right there. So you spend so much time in that. And we just had just the best time. And again, the ocean is right there. So it's literally right there. It's not like a Hilton Head, which is amazing, where you've got to take, a shuttle to get to the ocean. I mean, the ocean is right there. So I think as our family evolved and we've always kind of considered that, we do own a beach house. People are like, oh, really? Where? Like Vero, oh, where? And be like, well, we don't really own it. It's kind of points. And we book there at, 7 months out. But we go there like 3-4 times a year. And we just went in December for 4 nights. And now my kids are 18 and 14. And so, now we spend most of our time on the beach and, getting the beach chairs with the canopies and playing football and catch on the beach, and shuffleboard competitions become incredibly heated. I have not, my son, my 14-year-old and I have lost to my wife and my oldest son every year for the past, I think, 8 years. And it gets brutally ugly. And for some reason, we just keep losing. But it's those kind of things combined with the mini golf. That's all right there. It's one of those, you don't have the distractions of, not that they're bad distractions, but you don't have to be like, oh my God, we got to go to Epcot today, then the Magic Kingdom, and then we have dining reservations at blah, blah, blah. So once you get to that resort, if you just want to stay there, you can just stay there. It's just one of those things where we, unplug. You just spend time as a family doing old school things like floating in the swimming pool and watching the sunrise and watching the sunsets and long walks on the beach. And like I said, I know we're going to get into it in a little bit, but man, I mean, I would literally stay at that resort as long as I could if we could just change the dining options at Vero Beach. We'll talk about that later. Other than that, it's my favorite DVC resort.
Well, yeah, and to your point, one thing that I discovered, and like I said, I've only been there once, and it was for one day. We did it in between Disney World and a cruise because I wanted to check off all of the DVC resorts off my list. And so we were only there, not even 24 hours, really, if I'm being honest. But we spent most of that first day in the pool waiting for our room to get ready. And the people that you meet at Vero, at the bar, at the pool, in the common areas, are a completely different breed than what you meet at Disney World. The conversation takes a different turn, and not in a bad way. I didn't mean that negatively. It's, hey, they came down from Canada to go to the beach. They didn't come down from Canada to go to the parks. And so they're a much more chill, much more relaxed. They love it there because it's a bit of a journey. Like, there's no close airport. There's no close public transportation. There's no bus that goes from Epcot to Vero.
No.
So they have to want it. And it speaks to how the quality of Vero and how it's worth the trip, I guess, is what I'm trying to say out.
And it's super rare to find someone when you're talking to people that have been to Vero once, for people that are on their first trip. Honest to God, because I truly feel like once you go once, and I've had members tell me this for the last 20 some years, is they're like, Derek, my God, you told me to go to Vero. Now we're never going to go take our Disney World vacation without adding 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 nights on Vero, because it's a perfect place to take a vacation after your Disney vacation. So most people have literally been more than once, because once you go, you'll hopefully get bit, not by the no-see-ums, but by the love of Vero Beach, and you want to keep going.
Yeah, the first time I went to Vero, we decided to do like a split between Disney World and Vero. So we stayed at Old Key West for the first half of the week, and then we went to Vero for the second half. And we loved it so much that we decided we need to go back and we need to stay for a full week. We didn't want to just be there for an add-on. We wanted it to be the trip. And
what kind of room did you stay in?
A 1-bedroom both times. And the 1 bedrooms we had I mean, when I say a view of the water, I mean, it was kind of like over a rooftop, but it was still like we could sit on our balcony, we could see a little sliver of the ocean, and there's just so much lush greenery around. It's just an absolutely gorgeous. And um I loved how, because the first time my girls were even, they were young, like much younger than they are now. They were probably like 7 and 10. And I have, to your point, Derek, I have pictures and videos of them on the pirate slide. And I love how closely everything is situated. So I could be at the pool, and if they wanted to do the mini golf, they could do it. And if they wanted to go into the community hall and do arts and crafts, they could just go right there. And if they wanted to go up to the snack bar to get something, it was all right there. So there was not a lot of like, okay, you want to do this now, I need to get up and walk you over here, or get up and like, you know, I could watch them go to the places that they wanted to go. Um, and then if I wanted to just get up and walk over to the beach, it was right there like that. It was, I love that you can be at the pool and then say to the kids, like, hey, you want to go over to the beach for an hour? And not feel like you need to, like, you're preparing for a beach day. You know what I mean? When you have to like schlep all of the stuff.
Yeah.
What do you think we need? It's like we could just go over for an hour and not feel like we're like preparing to hunker down at the beach for a day with all of our stuff. So I love that. And then the second time we went for a full week. We rented a car, um, and we decided to kind of also use Vero as like a home base for other
Mhm.
things to do. And I mean, this one was a little bit ambitious. We did drive to Miami for the day to go to a Marlins game because
Wow.
I'm um
You could have found a closer home base, I feel like.
well, I wanted, it was just, we were going to be there for the full day. So, I mean, for a full week. So, and having been at Vero before, I also know that there's not a lot to do like right off of the resort grounds. Like you kind of have to drive a little bit. So I was like, let's just
Yeah.
go to Miami and go to a Marlins game so I can check that stadium off my box. Um, but
Oh
we
my
did other things.
God.
Like we went horseback riding on
I
the
don't even
beach.
like to leave. I don't even like to leave the beach to have to go to the restroom. And you're like going to Miami.
But you do, right? You do leave the beach to go
Yes,
to the
I do. I
restroom.
want to make that clear, right? How come no one's standing by me in the water? That's kind of strange.
You're like, yeah, of course
That's
I
awesome,
do.
though.
Um, but we did, we went horseback riding on the beach about someplace that was like I think about an hour away, and I did stand up paddleboard yoga right there in Vero, where while I was like halfway doing it, I all of a sudden became like overcome with terror that I was going to get eaten by an alligator. But I didn't. I lived to tell the tale. But so like there are things to do.
Yeah.
They might not be like, like in Hilton Head. There you could walk to from the resort to a million different restaurants and to the marina, and you can rent a bike and ride the entire length of Hilton Head on your bike. It's a different dynamic at Vero, but there were so many different things to do, and we loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Well, that's just what people don't realize is that when Disney was looking for a location, they picked Vero specifically because honestly, there's not that much to do. Like just because they wanted a very quiet beach town, they didn't want the typical Florida beach with the 25-story high rises and every hotel's up and down the beach selling timeshare, all that kind of stuff. They really wanted a really secluded, like I think no building is taller than I think 4 stories or 3 stories. I can't quite, but that's when you're on that beach. That's my favorite. And we have a ton of awesome Florida beaches, but Vero, you look around and on either side, when you have that day of like, what are we doing today? I don't know. Let's grab a drink. Do you want to walk to the left? Do you want to walk to the right? So they're great walking beaches, but there's no big high rises. You're not going to run into a ton of people. So it really has this sense that you're a million miles away. And again, you're only like 2 hours away from Disney. So for me, it's so unique. And every Florida beach is great for different reasons. And I love those beaches that are fun and vibrant with big, lots of activities going on. But Vero is just so quiet. Probably the busiest part of the beach, and I use that term loosely, is at the Disney resort. just because that's where the people are. The rest of them, there's like nobody there, which makes it so cool to just walk and collect shells and stuff like that, and drive to Miami and go to Cuba. We can do all those on a day trip.
And actually, now that I'm listening to you talk about it. I think something that I love about it too is, I live in New Jersey. I am a Jersey Shore girl, like through and through. And there are not a lot of beaches in anywhere in this country that are similar to the Jersey Shore. And I think part of it is that the Jersey Shore is not, it's residential, it's like you get off the beach and it's just houses, and there aren't high rises, there aren't hotels lining the beach. It is like the Jersey Shore is where you go to rent a house or live there. And it's like a very chill, homey feel at the Jersey Shore. And I love it. And while there are beautiful beaches all over the world, it is hard to find beach towns that feel like the Jersey Shore. But I think the reason why I love Vero so much too is because it's like you're in the middle of like this residential area. And it's just, you're there to just enjoy the beach. It is like a true beach vacation where you're just going to kick back and disconnect from the world, and you can do it there because you're not surrounded and being bombarded by tourism.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why, not to go too far off tangent here, but that's my biggest complaint about.
Yeah, good luck with.
I know, right?
Good luck with that with the three of us.
These 20-minute episodes. This one's going to be 2.5 hours.
This one, if you decide to drive from Vero to Miami, pop this episode in, and it'll take the length of that trip.
That's my biggest complaint about Aulani. Is it's the same as you were saying. Aulani's great. It's one of my favorite resorts I've ever been to. But Oahu's busy. I've said on any number of things in this DVC world that I love Aulani. They just put it on the wrong island, right? Because Kauai is my home, and Kauai is, to your point, Amy, the same way. Waikiki on Oahu, we could have walked from Kalakaua Avenue to the ocean and never touched the sand. We could have just walked on people any day, any time of the week, right? We go over to Kauai, we went to 15 different beaches and never saw another soul. And that's kind of the feeling that Vero gets. It is a true, island time beach vibe, chill.
Yeah.
Bring a book or 3 because that's really all there is to do if you're not leaving the resort.
Yeah. I mean, I have to tell people all the time and say, listen, as much as I love it, I think the most nights I've stayed was like 4, and I'm good with 4. Yeah. Like 4 is great because you have your arrival day and then your departure day, all that. But again, that's its charm is that there isn't a lot to do. I mean, truly, the best things that we like to look forward to, and the only time that we leave the resort is when it comes time for dinner. When it comes time for dinner, I don't want to eat at Vero. I just want to be able to eat at a great restaurant outside of Vero, all within driving distance of Vero. But other than that, honestly, like I don't think I'd want to go for like a week. Would be a little too much for me. So I think that perfect is like 2 nights, 3 nights is perfect.
Well, and that's, people have asked me since word's gotten out that we're relocating to Orlando later this year. Are you going to sell your points? Are you going to sell your points? And no, for 2 reasons. Number 1, Moonlight Magic. I gotta be able to stay at least a night to get access there. And number 2, I'm like, I can see us going to Vero really like a lot. Like that's something that would be so easy for us to do. And
it's the best thing about living in Florida. And again, people tell me all the time, they're like, why are you selling your DVC? Well, I think we're going to move to Florida. I'm like, don't. Just because Floridians truly make such great Disney Vacation Club members because you can just pack up and go. You can look last minute. You can look on. That's how we get Vero, is literally because, again, like you said, we don't own points there. Kudos to those that own points there. Fantastic, because there's some times a year that are going to be harder to get into than others. The 4th of July, maybe some summer months. But if you're flexible, just being able to throw in and say, hey, you know what? It's 3 months from now. Let me just put in the entire month. I'm just looking for a studio or an in-room. Hey, look, there's 2 nights here. Do you want to just snag it and book it? And then you book it. And you're booking it with your points. And that's what I always remind my kids. I'm like, listen, I love you, But we're not taking you these rooms at Vero, like an in room, like an ocean view in room. It's like $600-700 a night, like to rent plus tax. So when you're a member, just being able to say, hey, you know what? I just want to book a last minute. I want to go. We sent people. So we sent our good friends last month. It was part of their Christmas present. We just sent them and their whole family for 2 nights at Vero in an in room. Right. And it was fantastic. And it's one of those things about being able to do something like that, which is like, listen, if I'm not giving you points, I love you, but I'm not going to say, hey, here's, $1,000 worth of hotel rooms. But when you be like, how much is it a night? Like 12 points a night? Yeah, just go ahead and we'll go ahead and book it for them. That's what makes it great too. Yeah. And that's why I love using my points at Vero and of course at Disney World for those 1 night stays. So yeah, Floridians, don't ever sell it. Keep it. Yeah. Keep it.
Well, let's jump in, and you kind of already alluded to probably your number one here, but let's get into why we're here and about what we would change about Vero. You said something about dining. I don't know. That's so weird. Vero and dining is synonymous with.
I know. I'm kind of surprised that when I show up, that like they don't start like murmuring and going, "That's that guy that doesn't like our food for dinner," like and pointing at me, like in the lobby. Because again, it is my favorite Disney Vacation Club resort. To me, the sense of when you cross over the bridge and you're coming down into Vero and you make that right-hand turn and you pull into the resort and you have to do that mandatory picture in front of the alligator that's like made like a bush and it says, you have to take your picture in front of it. And then you walk into probably one of my favorite lobbies of all time with the best smell of any lobby in the whole entire planet. Everything about that resort I treasure. I love the in rooms. To me are fantastic. The beach, the staff at the beach. There's this dude named Tino that does all the water sports and activities. If you've been to Vero, you'll know who he is. He's got the whitest teeth you've ever seen. Everything about it, and at the pool is fantastic. But it just comes to be that decision that my wife and I start talking about when we're at the beach, laying out, watching the waves, and the kids are doing whatever they're doing. Is where are we going to dinner? Because we don't want to eat in the resort. We don't want to eat at Wind and Waves, which is what they call their resort. That's open for breakfast, which I'm sure it's fine. But then dinner, right? It opens up at like 5 o'clock for dinner. I just wish it were better. I mean, is it passable? Yeah. I mean, it's fine, but it's not necessarily like cheap, but it's just not good. And I don't even think it's that pretty for an oceanfront restaurant. You don't walk in there at night or even when the sun's setting and go, my God, it's so beautiful in here. It's not, I mean, the staff is fine, but the food is okay. There's too many good restaurants around Vero that are literally picture perfect, like postcard restaurants where you're right on the beach or you're on the inlet and you're it's literally seeing like dolphins come like through the inlet. There's too many good restaurants that are within, no joke, like probably 20 minutes away for me to want to spend my money and most importantly spend my time at Wind and Waves. I wish that restaurant were better. My second complaint is the beloved Green Cabin room, which I think is beautiful. It's on the second floor, right over there, overlooks the ocean. It's an amazing bar, but they used to serve food. They used to serve like not food, not like a big steak, but you could be able to go there and get like a big pretzel. You could be able to just kind of like bar food appetite pizzas. They used to have the best pizzas there that you could get that they bragged about. Oh, we just got a brand new pizza oven. And it was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm actually having good pizza at a Disney resort. I mean, it was unbelievable, but they got rid of all that. So now they really don't even have any food. So it's like, I could go up to the Green Cabin room and I could get a drink, but I'm going to pay, $9 for a beer when I could just go get it from my cooler or get it from my room inside and sit outside and look for the same money. If they had food, like just good bar food at the Green Cabin room, that to me is just such a beautiful, beautiful space. And then good dining for dinner at the resort. Those two things are probably my biggest complaints.
Yeah, I completely agree with you because the 2 times that we went, the first time we didn't dine there at all because, like I said, we were only there for a couple of nights. But the second time we were there for a week, and I felt like I felt a sense of obligation to go to Wind and Wave because we were there for so long, and I felt like we should. And it was like you said. I mean, it's kind of to me like what you would expect from a just kind of like a chain casual dining
Yeah.
eatery.
Yes.
So it's totally passable, but it's more expensive than the price point of that type of restaurant. And yeah, you're the beach is right there and you can't see it, and there's just no. I mean, I will say that the service was great, and at the time that
Yeah.
the time that I ate there, I was eating like a strictly plant-based diet, and they were extremely accommodating. And honestly, I think that I ended up liking my food more than anyone else, and it was kind of like something that they made special for me. But the dining, where the places we've gone off Vero, the resort property, have just been so great, and they were built to
Yeah.
take advantage of the fact that you're on the beach, you're there, you're on vacation. Like when I'm on vacation in a beach town, it's like I don't want to take my eyes off the beach, like I want to know that I'm going to be at the beach every minute. And so like even going to the green cabin room, like I like to go out and sit on that. Like if it's
Yeah.
if the sun is still up, I like to go sit on outside so that I can see the water. If it's dark, another story. But I don't know. It just feels like, to your point, Eric, it's not just a waste of my money, but it's a waste of my time because it's not giving me the beach vacation vibe that I want to get, while also serving me like pretty mediocre food.
Yeah, and that, the beach, it's called like the market, I think it's called. So like right next to the pool, right next to Wind and Waves, right next to the bar. For lunch, it's completely passable. In fact, it's been, sometimes it's actually pretty good. But I'm a lot more forgiving when I've been, out on the beach from, for 3 hours, might have had a drink or two. And so, your palate isn't exactly like I'm fired up for something fancy. I don't care during lunch. Give me a sub sandwich, give me a hamburger with fries or the chicken nuggets. Totally fine. So that place is perfectly acceptable. It's quick, it's good, the service is good. It's just when it comes to dinner, it's almost like I feel like people that go to Vero, a lot of them are just going to go to Vero and they just want to stay there. So it's almost like, well, we could make it better, but I mean, what else are these people going to do? I mean, are they going to want to drive? And a lot of families, if you've been at the beach all day or at the pool all day and you've been playing pool games at Disney Trivia, the last thing you want to do is, oh God, we got to go get in the car and we have to drive, even if it's 10 or 15 minutes away. So I feel like they almost have this, well, we got them here, so let's just give them some seafood and blah, 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 put it on a plate. But like you said, it's nothing that you wouldn't even see it like at Applebee's or anything else, the catch of the day, or I don't know. It's just, it makes me sad just because I love that resort so much. And I would literally am trying to give them money. I'm trying to give you money to eat here, but I don't want to because again, I can name 5 different places off the top of my hand that I know I love, that locals go to, that it's great. Because I think a true sense is you don't see a lot of locals that are coming in to come eat at Wind and Waves. Right. They're not doing that. That's always a sign. Where do the locals eat? They ain't coming to Wind and Waves. No way.
So it's funny that this is a totally different experience than I had. And to be fair, I was that family. So like I said, we were only there one night. We had been at Disney World for 3 nights, and we were on our way to Canaveral for a 3-day Disney cruise. And I wanted to check off Vero from my list, so we booked the one night in between just to go out and try it out. But we were that family where we'd driven the 2 hours or whatever to get there. We'd spent all day at the pool and the beach and drinking, and the last thing I wanted to do was drive somewhere else to go. Exactly. Like, I'm so tired of being in the car, and we have another 2-hour drive in the morning to get to our check-in at the port. So we did. We ate at Wind and Waves. This was in May. And I kid you not, it was the best steak I've ever had at a Disney resort, hands down. Now, to be fair, it wasn't their normal menu. This was a special steak that they had just for that particular weekend. It was like almost like handwritten on the menu. Like it was like, oh, we've got this meat that we gotta cook.
It's like
It
the
was
chef
so
was
weird.
driving behind a truck, and the steak fell off the truck, and he was like, "Well, guess we're adding this to the menu."
Exactly. But it was a butcher's cut filet mignon. I'm not joking, guys. It was so good. It was better than Le Cellier. It was better than California Grill. It was better than any steak I'd ever had at Disney World. It was so good.
I need to get the list of what you were drinking at the beach that day.
And my girlfriend Amy, who is way more of a foodie than I am, agreed with me. She goes, "People hate this. This is really good," but it wasn't their normal thing. And so we went back for breakfast, and then we were like, "Oh, this is why people hate it, because it was so bad." Like, it was a night and day difference between the food that we had that night and the food 12 hours later. So I don't know. It was a one-off, I'm sure, but it was so good that one
So
time.
Derek, where do you go
So
to
we'll
eat
see
when
what
you're there?
So we have like this thing that we always do. It's kind of like a must-do list. So depending if we're going for like 2 nights or 3 nights or whatever, the first thing we always do, there's a store. It's called the Village Shops, which is probably about 5 to 10 minutes down the road. It's a little shopping complex. There's a store. There's a shameless plug called Coastal Comforts that's there. The guys are DVC owners. Been there forever. They give a DVC discount of 10% off. Our house is literally filled with stuff from this store. It's just really cool, unique beach stuff. So our kids have kind of grown up knowing these guys and their dogs. So we always stop off there before we check in. Then after we check in, go to the beach, have fun, do the shuffleboard tournament so I can lose. Then we will always I try to go to Riverside Cafe. I love the Riverside Cafe. If you're a country music fan and you've ever heard the song Barefoot Blue Jean Night by Jake Owen. Jake Owen was born and raised in Vero Beach. So in that part of the song, when he says, a cruise by the riverside, whoa, that's the Riverside Cafe that he's talking about. So his picture's everywhere in that place. But it's right on the inlet. So you can sit outside right on the inlet and see the boats come in. People dock their boats and they walk in. Again, we've seen dolphins. I'm out there around. It's just so cool and so pretty to watch the sunset there as well. And again, it's packed with locals and great local beer. I'm a beer aficionado, so they've got great local IPAs that are just fantastic, which Jeff can't wait to not try.
100%.
We love Riverside is great. We love a place called Captain Hiram's, which is very, very cool. They have an inside restaurant that's just very cute, very like kind of kitschy and beachy with big, deep, dark booths. But it's right on the ocean. Then they have an outside beach area where if you want to be more casual, you could sit on the sand, tables on the sand with fire pits and bands playing. So Captain Hiram's is really good. Squid Lips is literally like on a pier, which is very cool to go to. So you kind of walk out on the pier and then the building is literally out over the ocean. That's a really great place. So yeah, I mean those 3 are probably our top. There's one called the Citrus Grill, I think it's called Ocean Grill or Citrus Grill. I can't remember for the life of me. Ocean Grill. It's like a Vero institution. Like it's been around there forever. I mean, forever. It's probably one of the oldest restaurants in Vero. It's one of those that you have to go to. We did it. It's really cute. It was probably a one and done for us. Food wise, it's beautiful, but it's one of those where you're like, you got to check it off the list. But when you go try to check in, they don't take reservations. So it's like, great, come back and check. We'll put your name down, go walk around town for the next 2.5 hours and then check back and we'll see if we can get you in. So I was probably like Jeff at that point. I was like, I don't care. Just give me anything. But a lot of people do that place. But yeah, it's just such a great little town that there's so much stuff to do, but not big stuff.
And it has a couple great breweries, which is fun. What is that? The Walking Tree?
Oh my God. Yeah. Walking Tree. Walking Tree. Walking Tree is awesome. Really great brewery. We found another one. There's a few other ones. Of course, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but we always visit them. So there's 2 or 3 local breweries that are there. So if you like beer, you can get the local beer at even a lot of the gas stations too, which is kind of nice to be able to bring. Because even though it's Vero, and you think you're expecting to find like a lot of local beers, it's they've got that Disney contract where you're only going to get like the same beers on tap that you get at Walt Disney World. So here's a High Lie, here's a, Michelob Ultra,
Yeah.
here's a Bud Light, give me $10. And I'm like,
Yeah, I
no,
remember
thanks. I'll drive to the
the
gas
trip that we did
station.
the split stay between Disney and Vero. I was shocked that when I sat down at the bar, and I mean, and this was a while ago, so this could be different, but it was literally the same menu that they had at every pool bar at
See,
Disney World. I was like, okay, all right.
I know it makes me crazy. That's my favorite is going to these restaurants and then you pull up and look, oh my God, there's a sailfish beer, there's a this beer, just unique stuff that's local to right there. But again, that's where Disney kind of whatever. It's got to be like a contract that they signed at the same time they did where they serve the same chicken nuggets in every single Disney owned restaurant.
Yeah.
They have to serve the same beer apparently.
I will say this though, menu aside, I do like the bar at Vero that's right there by the pool. It's got TVs, the sports games are always on or whatever
Perfect.
you're into. It's a stone's throw from the beach and the pool at the same time, which that's awesome. Like if you're not like us and don't mind stopping at the grocery store and filling up our cooler if you have to deal with what Disney has to offer, there's worse places. So
and that goes to the staff there as well, like the
yes.
bartenders that work there. Oh my God. And all the staff at Vero like are just so phenomenal. So when I make digs about the dining, it's not personal. I mean,
Oh,
it's
of
just
course
food.
not.
I mean, you gotta again, like we talked about, we're saying this is what we want you to fix, not because we don't like you, but because we love you. We want you to fix this because we love you so much that we love you so
Right.
much more. And I'd give you so much more money if you fix these things. But the staff at Vero is just so phenomenal. I mean, they have such great activities for the kids, not just by the pool, but they do stuff like inside the main lobby of the hotel with that activity sheet where it's like, paper airplane competitions where they climb up the different floors of the lobby and see who can throw their paper airplane the farthest. So the staff, a lot of them have been there for a long time. So those are always the best staff because they take such pride in their resort and they truly love their resort. So it's like a Hilton Head too, where has
Yeah.
amazing staff. The people there are just
Yeah,
like
I think
like
that's
family.
what both of
They're
those
awesome.
resorts, more than any other resort, the feel of the cast members there, they really do. They take pride in working there. They are as much of the experience as anything else there, because they go above and beyond. And um, my kids would do like the kids' night in, so that my ex and I could go and go out to dinner, and they stayed there and they loved it. Um, and the spa there too. I mean, the spa was great. The cast members at
Mhm.
the spa were amazing. I mean, every part of that resort makes you feel like you're on vacation. And I, and the food, it's not great, but it certainly does not take away from your experience. You just choose not to go there, and then you you carry on.
That's exactly the point. It doesn't take away. In fact, I almost consider it that it adds to the experience just because it gets me out away from that resort and it lets me see other parts of the town that, again, are within 10, 15, 20 minutes away and see stuff that if you leave that Disney bubble, we all know about the Disney bubble. There's a Disney bubble at Vero that it's hard to leave. But I think because their dining is not my favorite, it's gotten me out and gotten me to discover places that I know I wouldn't be like, hey, let's go to Disney's Vero Beach. And instead of eating at the hotel that's so convenient right here, let's dry off, get dressed, get in a car, and drive 20 minutes away. But those places have made some of the best memories of our whole trip, and being able to share those places. Like I told my coworker and dear friend Marissa that because she's in love with Vero now too. So she went to the Riverside Cafe for the first time last year. Now every single trip, and she just went 2 weeks ago. She's like, the first place we did for dinner, got away from the resort. We went to the Riverside Cafe, even though it was like 40 degrees. She's like, we had to do that. So it's always so fun, discovering a place like Vero and realizing that folks, if you weren't Disney Vacation Club members, that you probably would never go to Vero. But when you've got the points, you realize, I mean, for me, what a huge part of my life Vero Beach has and is and will always be, and growing my kids growing up there and me having all the memories to look forward to. Because my wife, Jeff, says, well, so after the kids are gone and they're in college, we could look at selling our points. I'm like, what are you talking about? We're not selling our points. Like, even if I just use these points for Vero Beach, I'm not getting rid of my points.
Yep.
So it's so fun just knowing that you can help people discover a whole entire world, not a resort, because you're still at Disney. So when they open up, oh, we've never stayed at that resort. As awesome as it is, it's still on Disney World property. But when you get them to, leave and take 2 hours away and realize, like, oh my God, there's this little Disney bubble in this place called Vero. That's so fantastic. And apparently, once a year, they serve a really good steak. So we'll
One day a year. One day a year. Well, and to your point, if like you said, if you're not a DVC member, you probably don't even know Vero exists. Honestly, like it's not like it comes up in your typical hotel searches. It doesn't come up on Expedia. No. It doesn't come up on It's yep. truly the very definition of a hidden gem because, yep. And I don't personally, DVC has spoiled me. I love everything about it, but I'm not spending $600 a night to stay there. So it really is kind of the true DVC resort because you have to want it. You have to want to make the drive. You're going to want to use your points because it's price prohibitive for a lot of people. And, you go to Disney World, there's good restaurants, there's bad restaurants, but there's no restaurants that are going to make you go, I should drive 20 minutes to downtown Orlando. Orlando has some great restaurants, but most people aren't leaving.
Yeah.
So
100%.
You talked about dining. I have something that I would change if I were in charge of the world. They need more 3 bedrooms.
Oh.
They only have those cottages, which look amazing. I walked by with the greenest envy that I could possibly muster. But there's like 8 of them or something like that. Like there's not, and I don't even think they necessarily need to be those beachfront cottages. They could do some grand villas, attached to the other buildings, but that prohibits a lot of big families from making that trip, I think.
It does. And I mean, it's so hard to get those beach cottages that over all these years, I've had members literally add on points at Vero specifically just so they could book those at 11 months out. And not that they want to book them every single year, but they'll be like, hey, Derek, I think I want to add like 100 just because once every 3 years, I want to have 300 points so I could book a beach cottage 11 months out to be able to get them. And, again, they're incredible. If you haven't seen them, like Jeff said, I think there's 8 of them, 8 or 9. I can't remember, but they're literally right on the ocean. They're standalone houses. I mean, they're literally standalone houses. So it's this ultimate in like, I would love to stay there just for the feeling because anybody that walks through the resort, anybody that plays mini golf or swims, you just stare at these like, oh, one day I would love to be able to stay there. While you go back to your, in room, you look at these 2-story things that are right in the ocean. They're absolutely beautiful. But yeah, it would be great just because for me, the 1 bedrooms, and it's been a while since I've stayed in them just because I love the in rooms so much because the in rooms are right there in the main building. They're big. They have 2 queen beds in them. The point usage is like 10 to 15 points, sometimes like per night. So it's great. But the 1 bedrooms, from what I remember when I've gotten them, and a 2 bedroom, they're big, right, Amy? I mean, like they remind me of like the layout of like a Old
I don't
Key
think
West
that they're quite as big as Old Key West,
of.
but the layout is very similar, and it's the same thing at Hilton Head too. It's like they are big, and I mean the other part about Vero and maybe why the dining isn't as great as we want it to be is because I think that a lot of people who stay in 1 and 2 bedrooms cook. When we were there, we made a lot of our meals in the room, and we would either bring it outside and sit outside at the pool and eat, or just hang out and rent a movie from the lobby and put a movie in and have movie night while we're having dinner. It's because, again, it's like a totally different type of vacation than your Disney World vacation. Like we live in that room at Vero versus just sleeping in the room at Disney World.
In between park days. Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, had we gone for a longer period of time than just the one night, we would have definitely done that. We would have gone to see the restaurants, out by the pier and stuff like that. But out of any DVC resort I've ever stayed at, that would be the one I would be most likely, to cook a quick meal or even breakfast, if nothing else, because breakfast was so bad at the restaurant. I could cook eggs better than they can cook eggs, and that's not saying much.
And they also have, just to give another little shout out, because like Amy said too, you do spend a lot of time at the resort. They have a great gift shop. Like I love the gift shop at Vero. It's right off the main lobby. It's everybody I know, I'm sure, has the same tradition no matter what resort you stay at, is as the spouse is checking in at the front desk, the other half will immediately run to go check out the gift shop. Then all of a sudden you realize that they will not be just of one visit to said gift shop. I always let the clerk know. I'm like, you will see we're here for 4 nights. My wife will literally be in here at least 7 times a day. Most times she won't buy anything. She'll grab it, look at it. She'll ask me, do you think it's cute? I'll say yes. And then she'll put it back and then look at it a few hours later. But it's a great gift shop. They used to be a really great gift shop because they used to have groceries. Like they used to have a wall, which I know a lot of DVC resorts have changed this, and I don't like it, is they used to have a wall, like a freezer wall, a refrigerator wall. And they used to have a ton of stuff like burritos that you could get, frozen foods, you can get all that stuff. They got rid of that whole entire wall, and they, trimmed it down to like a tenth of what it used to be, and they moved it. So I do miss having that, grocery selection right there.
Because so many members now do grocery delivery.
But
they probably don't. They probably
right.
stopped buying that stuff as much as they used to before grocery delivery became so easy and accessible.
Yeah, they probably did an inventory check and said the only person that eats these horrible frozen burritos is that one dude that comes like 4 times a year and complains about our food. We're not serving him anymore.
But that should speak to the food, because if you'd rather go to the freezer section and get a frozen burrito than eat in their restaurant, that really says a lot. Riviera, when we were there, when we got stuck there for Hurricane Ian last year, Riviera saved us with their freezer wall, because you guys can talk about Topolino's and California Grill and all these great places. Nothing in this world beat my macaroni and cheese and tater tots that I cooked in my Riviera room when I bought at the gift shop. So, I mean, I'm here to play, folks. I've got game.
Oh, I love it.
What about you, Amy? Was there anything else that you changed about
really
Vero?
Is the dining. The dining is really the thing for me. Is everything else at that resort? We had a great time both times we went. I went to the spa. I won the water slide competition. I have only good memories about Vero, except for the mediocre meal. So
I did that water slide competition our last trip because my 14-year-old said, "Dad, come and do it with me." And I had not done that water slide in years. And when you get to the top, if you haven't done it, for those listening or watching, they'll ask you, "Okay, what's your name?" And then you give them your name, and they'll go, "Here comes so and so. Here comes so and so." So they're like, "What's your name?" And I was like, "Natty Light." And you're up on top. And then he says, "Natty Light." All you see are all the parents that are sitting around the pool. The guys just bust out laughing.
That is awesome.
It's those kind of things, like the water slide competitions, the Disney trivia and stuff, and even just being here talking about it with you guys. I'm just going to throw it out here now, and we'll see if we can make it happen. But I think some sort of a Vero Beach DVC Clubhouse meeting in 2025, 2024, I think if we can plant the tiny seed, I think would be absolutely amazing.
I actually think that's a great idea, because like you said, here's the problem though. We're going to do that and the secret's going to get out about how good Vero is, and we're never going to be able to get rooms again. But I think It would be awesome because it's such a cool place where we could have some really fun events. We could do some really cool things.
Wind and Waves.
BYOB, bring your own burrito.
Bring your
Hell
own
no, we
I have a question. Sorry, I've done that water slide. In fact, I've done that water slide. I did it a lot. In fact, what is a water slide competition like? I gotta know. Like, is it how far your fat asses can skip across the ocean, or like the biggest splash?
They have a stopwatch, and they time you, so it's a speed thing.
Oh, so it's speed.
Jeff,
I can just see how. Like, I don't know. The pictures in my mind.
Is the time that we were at the boardwalk together, and you went down the slide and got stuck. You would not have won.
She made me do it with my Crocs, and Crocs have too much traction for a water slide.
That's what I did. Like, literally, the kids were coming down, and then they're saying the time. Here's, little Timmy with 8 seconds. Here's Johnny with 9 seconds. And here comes Natty Light, 43.2 seconds. It's like, oh, it's the swim shirt. That's all, guys. Don't worry about it.
I love it.
Training.
Well, yeah, there's just so much love about that resort. I love the idea of having to meet up there. That's something that we're going to put on the books. We're going to do it.
I love it. I love it.
Another little thing too. I'll just throw this in at the last minute. I think it's the only it's the only DVC resort except for Aulani that has covered parking, which is pretty awesome.
Moorhead has a couple of covered spots.
They do have outside parking
and Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Oh, that's true. Animal Kingdom. That's right. I forget about that. So it's not the only DVC resort with covered parking, but it does have covered parking.
Excellent point.
Anything else you wanted to add?
No. This has just been awesome. It literally just sitting around talking with great friends and all the great audience that I know is going to watch and listen. And again, if you guys have any questions about Vero, you can always feel free to reach out to me. If you have any questions about DVC, y'all know how to reach me. You could, shoot me an email always. Just Derek at dvcresalemarket.com, or send me a message on Facebook in the group. You guys I'm so glad that you guys started this channel, because literally you guys, just watching your channel grow and then just becoming, friends with you guys on just a personal level. I couldn't pick two better people to kind of combine as like, the Wonder Twin powers activate, form of a timeshare social media group, boom. And then you make it, and it's great. And just, the audience is so great, and everybody out there. So I'm personally can't wait to see everybody at the meetup that's coming up in September, that I know we're going to be meeting and coming up with some great plans about that too as well. So thank you guys so much for having me and making it the best part of my Thursday.
Well, we definitely appreciate you taking the time. And, friends, we don't have any official sponsors. We're new here. So we don't have a lot of money behind us. In fact, we have no money behind us. But I 100% will say that if you need anything DVC related, World of DVC is the way to go. That is not a plug that I'm getting any money for. That's just me being a customer. So reach out to Derek, reach out to Paul if you need to rent, Monera Financial to buy, like whatever you need to do. They're the only game in town. I don't care what anybody else says.
Oh, thank you, buddy.
And with that, we don't forget to hit subscribe, like, do all the things. Follow us on our socials. And with that, we'll DVC real soon.
I'm going back to the beach.